this is Candy with Eyes2Jesus.blogspot.com, and welcome to Thanksgiving with Eyes2Jesus. And as is my tradition, I start my Thanksgiving video each year on the day before Thanksgiving, so this is Wednesday. And I am doing most of my cooking and baking for the Thanksgiving feast today. And this is how I've always done it. I always do most of the cooking and baking the day before. And then that way, tomorrow on Thanksgiving, I actually get to enjoy the holiday and not have to be a slave and be cooking all day and then be cleaning all day and just be tired. So I'm going to go ahead and get this started. It's going to be a bit echoey, light's going to be hither and thither. I just now closed the blinds on my kitchen window to help. Heater's going to be kicking on and off because it's chilly. And we're going to get this started. My daughter is going to come in and help me for part of the feast, probably in a little bit. She's busy getting something done right now. So, as is my usual, the first thing I'm going to do is get started on the sweet potato casserole. And yes, I am still in a traveler's notebook for my planner, so my recipes are currently in a standard size traveler's notebook. So some people have asked, well, how am I keeping my traveler's notebook open to the recipe that I'm working on at the time? I am doing it like so. So you see that pink thing at the top? That is a book clip. And I got like 3 of these off of Amazon for like $6.99 and free 2-day shipping on Amazon Prime. And it is metal, but it's thin, and it holds my pages open to wherever I want it. And since the apparatus is flat, when I'm not using it, I just stick it into the pocket in the back cover, and it's out of my way. So yeah, I just have a book clip in here, keeping me where I'm at with my recipes. And these are a lot of the recipes I will be working on today, so I won't have to change pages for a while. So what I need to do now is I need to go over into my next room where I have some of my other kitchen stuff stored, and I need to grab my sweet potatoes and get those peeled. So I'm going to go and get those peeled and chopped and get those boiling on the stove, and then I'll get some more things going. Okay, so I have the sweet potatoes peeled, chopped up, and they're boiling on the stove. For my sweet potato casserole, I use 4 medium sweet potatoes. While that's going, I'm going to get one of my pies going, and one of the pies that we're going to have is a coconut custard pie. So, in my nice medium to large bowl, I'm going to get started with that. And this pie makes its own crust, so I love that. I don't have to worry about rolling out crust. So, in my bowl, I'm going to start with a couple cups of milk. So 2 cups of whole milk. To that, I'm going to need to add 1 cup of white sugar, and then a ½ cup of white flour, and this is what's going to turn into its own crust. So ½ cup of white flour. And then about a teaspoon of real vanilla extract. And as you see, I just eyeball it. And since this is a coconut custard pie, you need shredded coconut. And I'm going to do about a handful of shredded coconut. A little bit more there. And that's sticky, so I'm going to rinse my hand. Alright, and then to that, we're going to put in 4 eggs. And number 4. Then I'm going to rinse again. I do a lot of hand washing and hand rinsing when I cook, so I like that the sink and my work counter are just really close together. Okay, now to that I'm going to add a ½ stick of soft butter. And these are all the ingredients. So I'm just going to grab my whisk this all together, and then I'm going to pour it into a buttered pie pan, and then it'll be waiting to go into the oven to bake. Okay, so the sweet potatoes are done cooking. I have the coconut custard pie set to the side, ready to go into the oven. I have the oven preheated to 350 degrees. So I then drained the sweet potatoes, and then I used my KitchenAid mixer to mash them up for me, and now I'm going to move on to the next steps for my sweet potato casserole. So to my 4 mashed sweet potatoes, I'm going to add 1 cup of white sugar. a half cup of whole milk, then about 1/3 of a stick of soft butter, and we want about a half a teaspoon of salt. I like to use sea salt. And then about 1 teaspoon of real vanilla extract. And 2 beaten eggs. So I'm going to get this all mixed together. I'm just going to throw this back into my KitchenAid mixer to get it all mixed together. And then I'm going to pop it into a buttered baking dish, and then I'll show you what I do next. And we are back. So I now have the sweet potato mixture mixed together and in a buttered, I'd say 13 by 9 inch baking pan. So now I'm going to put on the toppings. So first is brown sugar, and I don't measure this, I just eyeball it. That's all I'm doing, is I'm using my very clean hands, and I am just sprinkling on with my fingers just a thin layer of brown sugar on top, so that it just looks like a nice thin layer or thin topping. Alright, and then on top of my thin layer of brown sugar is the best part, the marshmallows. And I just have here one value size bag of Great Value marshmallow minis from Walmart that I got for like 88 cents, I think. So these go on top. I just do however many fit. If I can get them all on top, great. If not, then I at least get most of them. And I got most of them on, but I still have some marshmallows left. So I'm just going to give these to the kids later on to munch on. But here is the sweet potato casserole right now. So I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and put both this and my coconut custard pie both into the oven because they cook at the same temperature, 350 degrees Fahrenheit. This is going to be in there for 35 minutes, and the coconut custard pie is going to be in there for 50 minutes. Casserole is out and it is on the table cooling. The coconut custard pie is still in the oven for a bit longer, and then when that comes out I will heat the oven up hotter, and then I will get the pumpkin pie going in there that you saw my daughter make. While all that is going on or waiting, I have gotten started on our broccoli marinade salad. I love this stuff. This is one of my most favorite things. So far what I've done was in this large bowl, I chopped up 3 medium to large heads of broccoli and popped those into the bowl, just the floury parts, not the stems. And then I chopped up about a half of a medium white onion, and frankly I'll use white, yellow, red, whatever I have. And I threw that in there. And now I'm about to add bacon. I just chopped up a whole bunch of cooked bacon. I couldn't tell you how much. I just chopped up a whole bunch. So it's really preference. I like a lot of bacon in my broccoli marinade salad, so I just chopped up a whole bunch of cooked bacon. So I'm going to add that next. And then in addition to that, I'm also now going to add a half cup of raisins. Now you can also add a half cup of sunflower seeds to that also if you would like, but we have one member in the family who is mildly sensitive, a little bit allergic to sunflower seeds. It's touch and go, so we just avoid the sunflower seeds so that to ensure no one's going to get upset stomachs from any of the food. So I'm going to mix this together, and then I'm going to get out a smaller bowl to make the dressing to put into here. I have this all mixed together, the broccoli and the onion and the raisin mixture, and then I just had to take the coconut custard pie out of the oven, and I just put in the pumpkin pie. I think I said earlier I needed to change the temperature on the oven. If so, disregard that. I forgot, it's the same 350 degrees. So now I have both the sweet potato casserole and the coconut custard pie. They're out on the table cooling, and now I have the pumpkin pie in there still at 350 degrees, and that's going to go for about 50 minutes to an hour. I'm going to start checking it with the toothpick test at about the 50-minute mark. Meanwhile, let's continue on with this broccoli marinade. So I'm going to set this big bowl to the side, and it is time to make the dressing. So in this smaller bowl, I just put in 2 cups of mayonnaise. And I personally use and highly suggest the Hellmann's mayonnaise. They use cage-free eggs. It's real mayonnaise, and it is so good. All right, so I got 2 cups of Hellmann's real mayonnaise with cage-free eggs. So 2 cups of mayonnaise in here. And then to that, I'm adding a ½ cup of white sugar. And then I'm going to give this a little swirl to mix it. I'm going to put in 3 tablespoons of organic raw apple cider vinegar. There's 1, and 2, and 3. Okay, now I'm going to give this a mix. And this is pretty well mixed together. As you saw, I switched from a spoon to my handy dandy whisk, and the dressing is now creamy. Nice creamy white dressing. So that's the marinade for the broccoli marinade. So now I bring back over my big bowl with the broccoli mixture in it. And I'm going to add our dressing we just made to it. And then I'm going to get that all mixed together. So I'm just going to carefully keep turning it and mixing it until everything in this bowl is coated with the marinade dressing. And then I'm going to just put a lid on this bowl or cover it over, and this will go into the refrigerator where it will marinate overnight to create the perfect flavored broccoli marinade salad for tomorrow's feast. This is so good. If you haven't made this, make it. I mean, I've tried broccoli marinades and broccoli salads from various different delis. This recipe beats them all. Right, the sun isn't so bright right now. It's getting a little bit cloudy outside, so I was able to reopen up my kitchen blinds. I like to have them open during the day. I like to look out the window while I'm cooking, while I'm doing dishes and whatnot. So I'm glad I can have that back open, so I have some nature to keep me company. Alright, so I've finished the broccoli marinade, so that gets to chill in the fridge overnight. So I am moving on to my next item, which is my third dessert, which is Russian apple pie. Russian apple pie is very easy to make, it's really fun to make, and it is delicious. I do have 1, maybe 2 people tomorrow who can't have apples, so I will have 2 other desserts that they can have, and then the rest of us who can have apples, we will enjoy this as well as the other 2 desserts. So first, what I did was I took a springform pan and I cut a circle of parchment paper and placed it on the bottom, and then I just buttered the sides of the pan. I then took 4 apples, and I am not an apple connoisseur. Really, I just use whatever apples I have around. And the apples I had around the house today were organic Honeycrisp apples. So I just took 4 medium organic Honeycrisp apples. I peeled them, I sliced them, and I popped them here in the springform pan on top of the parchment paper. So that's where I'm at right now. You're going to see this is really easy to make. Alright, so now I'm going to grab some ground cinnamon, and I am just going to sprinkle some on top of the apples to just what looks good to me. And don't be shy on how much cinnamon you put in. I like to put in a nice thin layer of cinnamon. Alright, and now I'm going to just move this to the side. I'm going to make, I guess you could say, the batter or the crust or the more solid type of bready material, whatever you'd call it, for a Russian apple pie. So I have the apple mixture, the apple and cinnamon's done and set to the side. So here in a medium bowl, I'm going to, just 3 ingredients in this bowl. I'm going to put in 1 cup of white flour, 1 cup of white sugar, then I'm going to add 3 eggs. Now I'm just going to grab a spoon and I'm going to mix this all together. So first I'm just going to break those 3 egg yolks up. Alright, so now I'm mixing it together, and this is just sugar, flour, and eggs. And then, so you're going to get kind of a thick yellow batter. The yellow, of course, because the egg yolks and the eggs made it yellow. So now I'm just going to take this back, and I'm going to pour this thick batter on top of the cinnamon apple mixture. And then after I just pour it in the batter, I just use the back of my spoon just to gently spread the batter mixture around. So now it looks like this inside the pan. Okay, so now this is just going to sit and wait until the pumpkin pie is done. And the pumpkin pie has 15 more minutes. And then let's see here. I'm going to then heat the oven up to 375 degrees. Then I'm going to stick this in the oven for about 45 to 55 minutes. I'm going to start checking it about every 5 minutes at about the 40-minute mark. Okay, so the Russian apple pie is in the oven. The pumpkin pie is out cooling. I did some, excuse me for a moment. There, I did some rearranging of the fridge to fit everything in there. Because this year I'm working with 1 refrigerator instead of 2. So I'm going to have to really dig into those spatial relation skills and make everything fit. And now I am working on the bread stuffing. I make a very simple, basic, easy bread stuffing, and it is a hit every year. And it's kind of fun to make. So what I did in here is I put in 1 stick of butter, and then I got that all melted, and then at about a medium heat, I chopped up and added 3 stalks of celery, mixed that in the butter, and while that was cooking in there at a medium heat, I chopped up and diced 1 whole onion, threw that in there. I let that go for a few minutes, and then I diced, or minced, I should say rather, 2 cloves of garlic and threw that in there, turned off the heat, just kind of let the garlic soften down and cook in there on the residual heat for a few minutes. And so now I got my butter and vegetables all sauteed, soft, delicious, and ready for the stuffing. So now what I'm doing is I'm getting the bread cubes ready. Now I don't buy breadcrumbs, I don't buy croutons, I don't buy stale bread. This is what I do, and it works because I do it every year and it always works, is I take 12 slices of cheap, basic white bread and I toast them. And then I just cut them up with a serrated bread knife into little cubes. And so that's what I'm doing right now, is I just finished sauteing the veggies in a whole bunch of butter. So now I am just toasting and cubing bread for the stuffing. I have all my toasted bread cubed up and in a nice bowl with a good mixing spoon. So before I add the butter and the sauteed veggies, I'm going to gently mix in the seasonings. So first I'm going to do a ½ teaspoon of black pepper. And then I'm going to do 1½ teaspoons of sea salt, and I'm just using a ½ teaspoon here, so that's 3 of those. And then I'm going to do 1½ teaspoons of organic ground thyme. This is a secret. This is what makes it so good. Now that's all I have left to do is very gently and slowly mix this in. And then once that's mixed in, I will then mix in the sauteed veggies for a little bit. And I have the seasonings well mixed into the cubed toast. So now, for the final step, I'm going to take my butter and sauteed veggies and I'm going to get that mixed in. So this I'm going to mix in really slow because I just introduced wet to bread or toast, and I don't want to just turn it into a big clump of dough. So I'm just folding the melted butter and sauteed veggies into these toasted cubes here. So I'm going to take my time doing this, going to make sure everything is mixed and all the flavor is dispersed, just carefully and slowly folding everything in. And then I'm going to cover this over and stick it in the fridge, and then it'll hang out overnight as the flavors meld more together and be fabulous for tomorrow. And the Russian apple pie just came out of the oven, so I'm going to let that cool for a little bit, then cover it over and stick it in the fridge. And now I am in the process of just beginning to make a homemade butterscotch pudding that's going to be for tomorrow's breakfast. Trick is, I ran out of cow's milk. I am going to just, what the heck, try substituting almond milk and play around with it and see if I can still get that pudding going. So that's what I'm going to go do right now. And the time is 3:55 p.m. and I just finished making the butterscotch pudding. So I just dished some out into individual glass containers, and then I'm just going to pop the little lids on them. These are just little glass Anchor Hawking containers. And then I'm going to pop those into the fridge for tomorrow's breakfast for everybody. And I have got quite a mess to clean up. So that's what I'm going to work on next. And my handsome husband just got home from work. They let him out early for Thanksgiving. So he is actually working on fixing a flat tire on one of the vans. And while he's getting that handled, I'm going to get that homemade butterscotch pudding into the fridge. It turned out, I tried some, it's delicious. And I am going to get this mess cleaned up. Kitchen is pretty much cleaned up now. I got most of the dishes going, got the trash changed, got the counters wiped down, swept the floor. So the dishes that are still left over in the sink, that's for my 15-year-old to do later on, because today is his turn to do dishes. So it is time to start getting ready to head on out. We're going to head to Friendsgiving at church, and then we need to stop by the store after that on our way home to pick up a few last-minute things for tomorrow. Meanwhile, my husband got our roaster out of storage and got it cleaned, so it is drying out here on the table. This is what he roasts our turkey in each year. So he's getting ready to get all of that prepared, and then we'll get that going probably early tomorrow morning or late tonight. So we have to see how many pounds of turkey is and decide from there. And the rest of the food preparations and everything will be done tomorrow. So we had a nice relaxed morning. We just kind of casually had our homemade butterscotch pudding and hung out for a while. And now everybody's just getting dressed and ready for the day. Meanwhile, family and friends are on their way over for the Thanksgiving festivities. So everything's going good. Turkey is cooking well. Everything is right on schedule. So I just got ready. So today I decided to wear my blue and white polka dot dress, and then I just did more makeup than I normally would have, and ready. So happy Thanksgiving. I have dishwasher going now with just stray dishes and breakfast dishes so that we can utilize it tonight after we do the final cleanup from the feast. And my daughter wanted to go ahead and make some homemade mashed potatoes, so she's going to make that, and then she's going to make up some gravy to go with that. So that's what she's working on right now. And we are doing final food preparations. Before digging in, I've got the stuffing and the sweet potato casserole in the oven heating up. And my daughter is making some gravy to go with the mashed potatoes that she made. And my husband is getting the turkey out of the roaster. And it has been marinated in a nice marinade. So we're going to have some good yummies.
That's right, Everlove.
Alright, I just got the feast set up, and I have zero counter space in my tiny kitchen, so it is actually set up in our bonus room, which is right off the kitchen, which doubles as a storage room, so we have a creative setup of the feast. But I will now show you a lineup of the complete feast. So there's the mashed potatoes and gravy that my daughter made. And then the dark meat and white meat turkey that my husband made, and it was marinated in Caribbean jerk marinade. And then here's the stuffing you saw me make yesterday, and the sweet potato casserole you saw me make yesterday. Then we got set out a bowl of jellied cranberries. There's the broccoli marinade that you saw me make. Then we have some sweet Hawaiian rolls. And this is the Russian apple pie. I added powdered sugar and cut it. By the way, when I took it out of the spring form pan yesterday, I flipped it upside down. So that's why it looks so nice and flat. Then we got the beautiful coconut custard pie and the pumpkin pie. And then we've got some whipped cream to go with the pies. So this is our complete feast setup. And we are very hungry, and we are going to dig in. No, now you feel. Now you.
Right, well, he wants it. Okay.
Yeah, blueberry. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, this one's bigger though.
That was fast.
Well, he won't eat this one as fast. That was the small one.
Are you gonna eat that? Oh.
Is it more?
Oh. There's like him. Cute. Oh, there he is. Oh, you're so cute. Isn't that funny?
Wow.
No.
He loves it.
The other one doesn't like him. The other one's really finicky. This one loves him.